everyone, this is Pico Entertainment. We are back again, and here now we have another video for you, and we're going to talk about He-Man and review the first trailer of the latest adaptation of the classic franchise. Now, this is the Netflix-produced anime-style interpretation titled Masters of the Universe Revelation, and it's actually a continuation of the 1983 animated series, which ran from 1983 to 1985 with over 130 episodes, and is still one of the most iconic animated shows of the 1980s. Very much part of that generation that was used to getting up very early in the mornings or rushing back from school in order to watch these great animated adventures. Now, it will be directed by actor-director Kevin Smith and was produced by Powerhouse Animation. Now, apparently there will be 10 episodes, which will be split into two parts of 5 episodes each on their release. Now, I don't know why they're going to do that. I don't really see the advantage of doing that release strategy, but hey, this is Netflix, this is what they do sometimes. Now, there will be a second series of He-Man as well that's much more family orientated, so again, I'm not sure why. This is just an avenue to try and sell more toys and merchandise. We all know that was originally the design of the He-Man series, to sell more toys, so I think that's really the overall plan behind that release strategy. I'm not really interested in the family orientated one, to be honest. Will probably be a lot more like the She-Ra Netflix, which I wasn't a fan of. Now, a couple of weeks ago, Netflix did release around 4 to 5 screenshots of the actual series, and I thought most were very impressive indeed, capturing the same look of the 1980s version. Now, there was some controversy centering around the look of both Teela and Evelyn, especially how they looked less feminine seemingly than the original, and many people didn't like their overall look and design in terms of their armor that they're wearing and the hairstyle in particular of Teela. There's been a big concern over the synopsis of the show, which seems to indicate that there would be much more of a Teela orientated story, how the Sword of Power got lost, and that she will help He-Man and the others to find it. And a lot of the hardcore fans didn't like this idea. They felt that we were going to get yet another case of a classic iconic male icon being superseded by the female in his own franchise. But despite all that, we now look at the overall trailer, and overall I thought it was a very impressive, definitely from a visual standpoint, no doubt about it. It's very much of a heavy action orientated trailer. I'm very glad that it gives off vibes of much more of a serious, mature tone of that fantasy element, which is what it should be. The tone itself is very similar to the criminally underrated 2002 He-Man reboot, which really should have continued. That was going great guns in its second season. We were getting much more in terms of the backstory of Skeletor, Evelyn, and we had the whole historical, mythical lore of the Grayskull. We were going to get an emergence of Hordak and an appearance from She-Ra. That was going fantastic, and a real shame that they didn't continue with the overall series. But this trailer gives off the same vibe as that animated show, so I'm very happy that we're going to get, as I mentioned before, a much more serious take on this franchise. The trailer itself had plenty of eye-popping images and effects. He-Man himself is very muscular, very strong and very dynamic, as what he should be. We had good scenes of him leaping and jumping, punching the ground and it exploding. We see those shots of him riding Battle Cat. Again, I love the visualization of Battle Cat. Looks very fearsome, very big, very bold, as what Battle Cat should be. They've retained very much so the overall look of He-Man. There's been slight alterations in terms of his metal vest. We've got a few more buttons in terms of the vest on there. His gauntlets and wristbands are slightly added a bit more detail, but for the most part it still looks very much like the character from the original version. I did also like the look of Skeletor, again sharing very much the same image as the original. He sounds very much like the character should be. Again, he's voiced by Mark Hamill, who we all know is very much iconic for voicing the Joker from Batman the Animated Series. So we expect the voice work to be of a very much of a high quality, and we also know the likes of Lena Headey and Sarah Michelle Gellar as well, also going to be providing voice work for the characters, in their case Teela and Evelyn. When we look again at the other classic characters, the likes of Beastman, Evelyn, Cyclops, Roboto, Man of Arms, they all look fine. The overall design of the characters is still, again, keeping that same DNA from the original. There are little alterations here or there, but for the most part, it still looks exactly the same as what we would expect to see from the original work. Now, I would admit, I'm not a fan still of the Tina look. I just think her overall design, it's too busy. It's got too much going on about it. There are too many segments. It's just too complicated. It, again, from what we originally felt when we looked at the screenshots, it's a design that hides too much, I think, of her feminine shape, her feminine form. If we go back to the 80s designs, they were very classic in terms of exhibiting that female form, that female structure. And they were really superb in the way that they drew all of their female characters. So yeah, I just wish they would strip away a lot of the segments and just give it much more of that feminine look. I mean, I could argue the same thing about Evil Lynn as well. This is something I always criticised about the 2002 reboot as well. The overall construct and the design of Tila is just too much. So hopefully they can strip that away if we indeed get a season 2 and a season 3. Really, that is only the real complaint that I had. Okay, the 80s title track, I wish they had gone for a much more of a serious epic fantasy tone, but I think it still worked overall. Again, they were just tying into that 80s nostalgia, so that wasn't really too much of a negative point throughout this trailer. And again, we get lots of big scale effects, big scale action sequences, which is what we want to see from this. I love all of the bright sheen and crispness of the animation. Again, it's got that very similar look as what we've seen from both Castlevania and Blood of Zeus series on Netflix. So of course we wouldn't expect an R-rated tone from this He-Man iteration, but again, if we want to see that more serious tone of adult fantasy, then yes, this trailer seemed to give us a lot of what we want to see, and it's got a lot of promise. And again, we've got a lot of imagination here, a lot of spectacle, and that's what we want to see overall. So I think in terms of this trailer, I was very pleased with it. Now, hopefully they can work out the story, and hopefully it's a He-Man centric story. Nothing wrong with Tila being a pivotal, integral character as what she was with the 80s, but Tila shouldn't be driving the story. This should be about He-Man and his ongoing battle with Skeletor, and then we get various episodes where we get the iconic supporting characters having their influence within the story as well. So as long as they can make it a He-Man centric story and not subside it to Tila, then I think we could be onto a winner here, to be honest. So very enthused, very excited, much more hopeful now of this project now that I've seen it with the trailer for the first time now. So hopefully they can build on this. As I mentioned before, I'm not really interested in the more kiddie orientated show that they're going to produce, not really bothered about that. I'm glad that it's much more of a detailed animation than what we saw, particularly with the recent iterations of the She-Ra Netflix show and also the Thundercats show as well. I hate that cheap, tacky, low budget style of animation. It's very just uninspiring overall. So I'm just very glad that this version seems to respect the source material from a visual standpoint, and hopefully it will respect the source material from a character standpoint as well. So overall, very infused by this trailer in this iteration of the classic He-Man franchise. So that's my thoughts and feelings and review of the He-Man trailer, Masters of the Universe Revelation. I think it's due for release on Netflix on June the 23rd, so not too much long to go now. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you excited about this? If you're a hardcore fan, are you still infused the fact that it's much more of a sequel, or would you have rather it would have been its own reimagination of the franchise and you would have preferred it not be a continuation of this? If you are new to the He-Man franchise and you are of the current generation, what did you think about it? Do you think it shares more tones similar very much with Castlevania and Blood and Zeus and other anime that we do see on Netflix? Are you excited for all this, and will you be giving it a shot as well? Let me know in the comments. Please also hit those like and subscription and notification buttons so I can provide you with more high quality reviews like this in the future. But that's it for now. Take care of yourselves, stay at safe distances, and I will see you very, very soon.